You already know what time it is.
Information news.
Yeah, you know what time it is. It's time to quit messing around and
cut to the chase. Good morning, KPFK. How you feeling this morning?
Everybody's feeling good. I know it. I can feel it.
You know you can feel it. It's Sly Rivers and your girl Ife Jai getting ready to get into some things today. We got a wonderful lineup for y'all.
We do. You have to stay tuned. This is going to be a very interesting interview with a brother, historian who's been around a long time, and what can I say? Master teacher.
Legendary. I'm excited, actually.
Yeah.
We're talking about Christmas today, y'all. Y'all know what it is. It's the season. We're going to break it down today.
We're going to break it down.
Yes, sir.
But before we get into it, we're going to go with the headlines.
Let's get into it.
And that was Amy Goodman with this morning's news headlines. We're going to continue with more news headlines.
That's right. You know, it's a lot of things going on. And right now, we're going to address the issue with the Supreme Court. They heard arguments Wednesday on Moore versus Harper. And it's a case with far-reaching implications for voting rights, y'all. During these 3 hours of debate, justices considered a bid by North Carolina Republican lawmakers to overturn a state Supreme Court ruling that withdrew North Carolina's congressional map due to partisan gerrymandering. The plaintiffs want the Supreme Court to embrace the notion of, check this out, independent state legislature theory. And that's a radical conservative reading of the Constitution that claims that state lawmakers have sweeping authority to override courts, governors, and state constitutions. This is a big deal, and we may not know how the court is going to rule until mid-June when it finally releases the majority of its decisions. So we're going to see how this goes.
Everybody
it's going to play out in a big deal.
Everybody wait till June. And the other labor news, this was the fourth week of the University of California's academic workers walkout. Some 48,000 workers across all of the 10 UC campuses have walked off the job demanding living wages and better working conditions. At least 17 of the workers were arrested on Monday after staging a peaceful sit-in in the lobby of the UC President's office in Sacramento. So we're going to see how that plays out also.
Yeah, and keep going, all my UCLA people. You know I'm a proud Bruin, so y'all keep on holding the line strong.
Watch it now. We got USC listeners.
Hey.
Probably online. Kent State listeners. Ohio State. Keep rolling.
That's right. It's all love. And the big headline, and we're so glad that this is finally happening. WNBA's Brittany Griner was finally released from a Moscow prison yesterday. Griner's release came in an exchange for Russian's arms dealer Viktor Bout. Griner was originally scheduled to serve 9 years in a Russian prison, so we're so glad that she's able to come back home with her family.
We are so glad that she's able to come. And it's amazing, though. We love that she's back. But, again, we see all the people wanting her to come out. Where here in the United States, you've had people locked up for years for nonviolent drug offenses.
Absolutely. I mean, hopefully this will bring a lot of attention to some of the hypocrisies and inconsistencies
the big hypocrisies
in the justice system.
I'm glad that they exonerated a lot of the brothers who were in prison and sisters who for nonviolent drug offenses. So, and also there's a lot of political prisoners in those jails.
Absolutely.
One getting ready to be released.
Absolutely. We're getting ready. Saturday, we're going to turn up for Dr. Mutulu Shakur. So you guys know the movement is still moving.
He's been in prison for over 37 years, so there's a fundraiser for him on Saturday. Is that
Saturday, Hot and Cool Cafe, Leimert Park. Come on out. We got a beautiful concert getting ready to go down. It's going to be amazing, y'all. It's going to be amazing.
Yes.
KPFK 90.7. We out here at Sly Rivers and Ife Jai, and we cutting to the chase this morning. It's going to be a wonderful show. We got Ashra Kweisi coming up, and he's going to be talking about Christmas. Stay tuned.
Mistletoe, I'm gonna get to know you better. This Christmas And as we trim the tree, how much fun it's gonna be together.
You're listening to Cut to the Chase. My name is Sylvester Rivers.
And this is your girl, Ife J, representing one time for the hood.
And on the line, we have Ashra Kweisi.
Hey.
Hotep, peace.
Hotep, my
Peace
brother.
and
So
power.
happy that you can join us this morning on this so-called holiday
These
season.
holy days is what they say.
Yeah. But by the way, if you don't know, Ashra Kweisi's been a long-time researcher. He's been to Kemet, some of you call it Egypt, many times, looking at what's written on the walls and breaking down the history of many things. Our history, not his history, but our history.
That's right.
So I call him. I've given him a doctorate, so I call him Dr. Ashra Kweisi.
I think he's earned that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's earned that.
So, Brother Kweisi.
Peace, Brother Sylvester. Honored to be on your show. You guys, excuse me, I got a little cold may come up here, so I try to avoid coughing while I'm trying to talk.
We didn't know unless
yeah.
you told us.
We appreciate your time.
And my co-host here is Ife.
Yeah, Ife, like Ife with an F.
Thank
Ife
you.
J. It's all right.
Ife.
We learning today, y'all.
And I know two Ife.
Yeah.
So check it. We're going to talk about the origins of
Christmas.
And you've been dealing with that a long time. So you want to just start off?
Yeah, get us started.
Well, I'm sure people are listening and said, who could possibly talk about Christmas after hearing Donny Hathaway?
That's why we played
That's
it.
why, exactly. We love Christmas. We love Christmas.
Well, again, yes, like a meltdown when we come during this time. I live here in Dallas, Texas, and living here in Dallas, Texas is something when you see, people really bring out little plastic European images of a baby and a little plastic image of male and female, and they put it in their yards and all these types of things. And it's sad that many of us don't know that what we see as Christmas, or what is called Christmas today, is actually a corruption of spiritual ideas that actually go back thousands of years. This started with African people on the African continent, and the monuments and temples are still there to validate it and prove it. So for 42 years of my life, I've returned back to Africa, back there to the land of Kemet, that is now called Egypt today by the Greeks. And there I've been able to witness where many of these concepts were literally corrupted and distorted. And before I go on, I want to give recognition to my teacher that I spent 14 years doing apprenticeship under him, and that's Dr. Yosef Ben-Yakin, and that we affectionately know as Dr. Ben.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I did not always know this myself until I actually heard him at Long Beach State in 1973 and asked him, can you prove what you said here today about black people as our black divinity and African history and spiritualities? I can take you back to Africa and show you. So that became a dream to return back to Africa, and I made that trip with him in 1981 and haven't missed a year with the exception of COVID, of course, in 2020. And so what do we see, or what do we have here to validate that Christmas, or what is referred to as Christmas, that this was actually a corruption of ancient African spirituality? Well, we have to go back to how our ancestors saw the spiritual ideas and how they connected what is referred to as terrestrial and celestial. And what I mean by terrestrial and celestial, meaning earthly and cosmic events. And as we move into what is referred to this Christmas holiday, we're moving into the winter solstice. And so our African ancestors observed this event thousands of years ago, and what they observed is that this was the birth of the sun at December the 25th.
The sun, S-U-N.
S-U-N, correct. Yes,
Yeah,
birth of
big
the sun.
distinction.
Yes, correct that. Yeah, we got to clear that up. Okay, even though in songs it also has S-U-N as well. Okay, it says S-U-N. But here they observed that when the sun was born on December the 25th, something else happened. It was a helical rising of a star that they referred to as Subbo Sipta. Subbo Sipta, the Romans referred to as Ceres, okay, and the Greeks referred to as Sothis. And that told them that not only was it the birth of the sun, but they personified this with the birth of a holy child.
Wow.
All right. Now, Christianity did not exist yet, so who is this holy child? In this Kemetic story in ancient Egypt, going back thousands of years, they saw that the birth of Heru, H-E-R-U, this would be the birth of Heru. He would be born. In fact, he is born of a holy birth from his mother, Aset, who the Greeks referred to as Isis. And in this holy birth, he is born precisely during the time of the sun in December the 25th with the hittical rising of that star. And this is validated on the monuments and temples that I reveal to our group every year, and people are just taken away when they actually see where many of these spiritual ideas were literally taken from ancient Egypt. There, they actually are giving praise, is what is referred to as the dua. Okay, they're having their hands out and giving praise to that star because Haru would be born at this particular time. When we see the images in the Western art of the Yuletide, and we see the image of a European Mary and a European Jesus, and we see this idea, this literally is the image of the cosmos, represented as anthropomorphic or human images. So we got caught up in the image of the European images, not knowing that this was based off of the cosmos that ancient Kemet, okay, or ancient Egypt, saw thousands of years ago. And they saw that based off of the virgin birth of Haru from his mother Aset. The Holy Family in ancient Kemet was referred to as Asar, who was the Holy Father, Aset, and here we see that that was Greeks referred to as Isis, and then we see Haru. This was the original Holy Family that our ancestors saw. In development of Western version of Christianity, where was it developed at? It was not developed in Rome. The ideas came up out of Alexandria, Egypt. Why Alexandria, Egypt? Alexandria, Egypt is the place when the Greeks first came into Egypt. This is where they came in at, Alexandria. In fact, Alexandria is named after the conqueror, Alexander, who came into Egypt at this time to fight the Persians. And this is important because during this time, even before Alexander, there were other Greeks who even came in and studied ancient Kemetic spirituality that I'm talking about now, like, for instance, the virgin birth, like Thales, okay, Pythagoras, and all these many Greeks that we were taught in Western academia, Plato, Pythagoras, all of them came into Egypt. But during this time, Alexander's coming in as a conqueror. After his death, the Ptolemies named this city Alexander after him. The Ptolemies were there for 300 years in Egypt. 300 years, studying ancient spiritual ideas. After the Ptolemies, okay, they were usurped by the Romans. The Romans were there for 400 years. After the Romans, we see what is known as the Byzantine Romans. They were there for another 300 years. So we're talking about, 1,000 years that the Europeans were able to study many spiritual ideas that it led into what we see this time period right now that was literally plagiarized and incorporated into a European version of the story. And the temples in Kemet are there to validate it, to validate where these things were literally copied. You can't find in the Western world the stories of what we see in Western Christianity to validate it outside of the Bible. Actually, when we look at where were the first Bibles written at, where were the first Bibles written at? In Alexandria, Egypt. Here we go, back to Alexandria, Egypt. Why in Alexandria, Egypt? Because the Greeks were there. What is the first Bible that was written there? The Septuagint version of the Bible in 250 BC. This is Europe's first Bible. And from that we see the Koine Bibles and coming down to the other various Latin Vulgate Bibles, coming all the way up to the King James Version that every nation that came to power copied their version of that first Bible that was written in Egypt. So what we see here in terms of this Christmas holiday, in fact, when we even look at the name Christmas, is formulated from the ancient Medu Neter. Now, when I say Medu Neter, I'm speaking of the earliest language known to the world that the Greeks referred to as hieroglyphics. On the temples and monuments, you see the Medu Neter everywhere. It means the sacred language of God. And here you see the show, brothers and sisters, the Medu Neter of Kames. And what is the translation of Kames in the Medu Neter? Kames, it meant spiritual birth. When the Gnostics, who were the early Christians who came along, who were like the conduit from the time of the Romans and the ancient African spirituality that I'm talking about, they understood where the Romans, okay, were getting this information from. I'm talking now about the Byzantine Romans. They understood that they were copying and plagiarizing idea and the development of Christianity. So they understood this. They called it the Chares, okay. From that, this is how we get even the word Christmas came out of the Medu Neter term Kames, okay, meaning spiritual birth, as they saw it thousands of years ago, even though the Romans exterminated all of the early Gnostics, because the Gnostics taught a spiritual teaching that the term Christ, okay, had nothing to do with an individual. They taught that the Christ was in all of us. That meant a ka, meaning a spirit. I mean, we got physical bodies, but inside the physical body is a spirit.
Hold that thought, Brother Kweisi. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back. We're talking to Brother Ashra Kweisi on the origins of Christmas.
That's right. And don't forget, we're in the middle of our fall fund drive, y'all. And please visit kpfk.org for a pledge. And also remember, you can use a text to pledge by simply texting KPFK to 619-870-1680. And you can always call us at 818-985-5735.
See, that is a path one must ultimately walk alone. But we have come to remind you of what has always been held within you that you have forgotten. Totality. You can refer to us as frequency healers, serving the cure to spiritual amnesia, delivering messages of divinity, assisting in ascension. Always twofold. Because, see, while we're talking to you, we are also talking to ourselves. And that's balance. I am strange poetry, and we are the intercourse.
We are the much-awaited elevation in the season of evolution.
We are KPFK Los Angeles. We're in our fund drive, meaning we only could talk about this holiday because we're listener-sponsored, not corporate-sponsored. In other words, no one can yank our transmitter from us unless we do it. So we really need your help to call in at 818-985-5735 and pledge your support to KPFK Los Angeles. I doubt that you ever heard anything, or if you have, it's not on any other radio station. It was somewhere else. But Ashra Kweisi talking about I guess what I would call the astrological connection between Christmas.
Yeah, because apparently this is more of a cosmology of acknowledging a shift in where we are, you know, the solstice. So that's a big deal.
And the mythology
it's totally different.
Of different things. And actually, when he comes back, maybe he can talk about John Jackson's book called Christianity Before Christ, which sort of opened my eyes because there were so many other cultures who have this Immaculate Conception story. But right now, we need people to call in, 818-985-5735, and make a huge donation to this station so we can keep the morning mix and all these shows going. Gerald Horne was on earlier. Oh, my God, I just love Gerald Horne. He breaks stuff down.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he breaks it down. He talked about how Muhammad Ali was protected from the mafia by, guess who? The Nation of Islam. You know, people, I might not agree with them, but they've done some positive things.
They've had their function in the community. You can't take that away from them.
And a lot of people want to, demonize them and make them this, I don't even want to say it, but...
Good morning.
And guess who else was protected by the FOI, which is the fruit of Islam? Michael Jackson.
We love Mike.
Yeah, Michael Jackson used the FOI to 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK, or pledge at www.kpfk.org. We're going to go to Ashra. How you feeling, brother? We're going to...
Oh, you're speaking to me, Sylvester?
All day long.
There we go.
Yeah, you're back.
Let me take off the speaker. Are we back on again?
Yeah, we never left.
We never left. Took a short commercial break.
Because KPFK is a listener-sponsored station, we have to let the people know that they need to, in order to hear voices like yours that you don't hear too many places, to call in and subscribe to KPFK.
Oh, keep it free.
Hello.
Good morning.
Ashra knows that. That's why he can keep doing what he does.
That's right.
Because he didn't get any sponsors.
So we were talking about are we picking up on our conversation
yes,
where we left off? We were talking about the true name of the Metu Neter, the origins of the Metu Neter, and the way that we even got the name of Christmas. And I think it's so powerful, the direction you were going in, debunking some of these myths that we now celebrate as Christmas. So I have a question. I don't know if I can pivot. I've always was curious about the Christmas tree. You know, when I was growing up, my dad used to tell us a story about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the Germans actually brought the Christmas tree, or what is known as the pine tree, here. Okay, so the question is, why did the Germans have this tree, and why was it so important to them? Well, first of all, we have to go back to the Romans again. As I said before, the Romans, as they got this information about Kemet, these spiritual ideas that I've been talking about, all based off of a cosmic event that our ancestors associated with the spiritual story of ancient Kemet around Asara, Set, and Haru's holy birth. But during this time, when the Romans got it, they started to formulate, the Byzantine Romans started to formulate the Western version of Christianity as they took it to the areas that they controlled, like Germania, that's now called Germany, Britannia, that was now called Britain, and Gaul, is now called France. They were bringing this idea, this Christian idea, to convert them over. But many people in those areas wanted to keep their original traditions. But the Romans had a hard time defeating these Germanic tribes, so they let them keep a lot of their traditions. One of their traditions was the pine tree that they worshipped as Thor. That, by the way, Thursday is named after. Thor was the child, was the holy child, and then Woden is the father, and Freya, Friday's after, is the mother. So here we see Germanic names in the days of the week that we call on every day of the week. But back to that tree. So here they actually bow down and worship that tree, the Germanic tribes, because it stayed green year-round. Okay, so this became the tree that was a symbol for them that represented Thor. So this is how the Christmas tree came a part of Christmas. So they let them keep that, and that became part of the tradition. So that's why when you put the gifts up under the tree, you have to bow down to get that tree. Symbolically, you're bowing down to Thor. That's what you're bowing down to. That's why when if you look at the scriptures, okay, that's what they refer to as the scriptures, okay, in the Bible, and it was referring to that Christmas tree in Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2 and 6, where it's referring to that, thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen. Well, first of all, heathen is a German word, okay, that means heath dweller. That means we're ones who is uncivilized. So they looked at these Germanic tribes at that time as being uncivilized. Okay, so it goes on to say, for the custom of the people are in vain, for one cutteth the tree out of the forest with the axe, and they deck it with silver and with gold. So that's why that is in there, because here is given reference to the fact that even though you have this as a symbol, but it was the Romans, because they had a hard time defeating the Germanic tribes, they let them keep their customs. But at the same time, the Romans also had their customs prior to developing a Western version of Christianity. You know, I say Western version of it. And what they had was Saturnalia, okay, who rode across the sky, and he not only he ate his babies, okay. Now, in Greece, he was called Cronus. There's a very famous art of Cronus, where he's eating his babies, because Cronus feared that the children would grow up and overtake his throne. So he ate all his babies.
No, this is mythology, right?
I'm taking this literal.
Yeah, let me clear that up. Yeah, this is part of their mythology.
This is their mythology. This is the stories that they tell themselves. Okay.
Exactly. You're right. This is their allegorical story.
Right on.
Okay, and it is famous Western art. Anybody can look up Cronus, and you'll see Cronus. The famous picture of him is actually eating his baby.
Wow.
He's actually biting the head off the baby.
Oh, wow.
Blood is running down. So this is when you look at the symbols. When we get into the symbols of the holiday, that becomes powerful within itself, because the question is, why is the candy cane so prevalent? The candy cane, and why is there always a little baby, or like a little baby attached to that candy cane? Because that's symbolism. That's the symbolism of Cronus, who ate his baby and the blood running down the can. I know this sounds rough.
Wow, I'm looking at the images right now. I am taken aback.
You have Cronus up on your phone?
I am, and these
Cronus.
images are grotesque,
that's why you
to
have
say the least.
The red going down the candy cane.
Wow.
Symbolizing Cronus, who actually ate his babies. But while we're on that topic, we also have to bring up the fact that when we look at these images of Cronus, okay, that now becomes Santa Claus, okay, and he's from the North Pole, But it's sad for anyone who would go to the Netherlands to this day, where black people are protesting to this very day, as you and I are talking. For many years, black people have protested against this character of Cronus, who is called Zwitser Piet. And Zwitser Piet, this is where Europeans and Netherlands, they actually blackface themselves to this very day. And they are represented as Satanilia's servants, slaves, in fact. You can bring that up on your phone, Zwitser Piet, and you can see the images of how these Europeans actually blackface themselves. And they have these images of Santa Claus, as we refer to in the Western world as Santa Claus, as these images, in the Netherlands to this very day. So that's some of the symbolism, even though we got off from the spiritual aspect of how ancient Kemet saw it. But those are some of the symbolism that we see associated with the holiday. And I know this is kind of rough in hearing some of these things when people are getting their tree and so forth. But even though they put that star on top of their pine tree, that is the star that I was referring to earlier, that our ancient ancestors for thousands of years ago, from their observation and their empirical observation of the cosmos, who were the first astrophysicists who observed that star that rose precisely at December the 25th. But we cannot forget the fact that what else they observed in the cosmos that told them that that star would rise, and that would be the constellation of Orion. Now this is very important, and I know some people may not have a connection or studied the cosmos, but here Orion, there are 3 stars in Orion's belt, and those 3 stars equally point directly to that star at December the 25th. In fact, every year I go out in my backyard and look at this event in the sky and say, hey, this is what our ancestors observed thousands of years ago. And those 3 stars become the 3 magi. Use as anthropomorphic or human images, in Western art. So we got caught in the dogma and the representation of European images, which, I have to refer to it as it is, white idolatry, or the worshiping of European images as though these things are real, when in fact it was a cosmological event, and they just took events from the cosmos to represent themselves. So the 3 stars in Orion's belt, that become the 3 magi, And then we see the European representation of the European Jesus. I say the European Jesus because even that was distorted, That, again, represented the sun at December the 25th. Now, let's go back to the temples, where I take many of our brothers and sisters at, and let's go back to the temple of Het Heru. This is a very famous temple. In fact, they took some of the older Torah books out of circulation, but they know that I come every year, and I told them that our group will only buy the older Torah books, that were in circulation before the Europeans came there, and told them to take them out of circulation. And so the question is, why did they ask them to take that out of circulation? Because in that Torah book, it says Haru was born of a holy chapel. In that temple did I take our groups at December the 25th. And so many Europeans felt offended by reading that in the book, even though that temple predates Western version of Christianity. So here we see that Het Heru, she was the surrogate mother, for Haru, who was born at December the 25th. Her Zoop type, meaning that the symbol that she represented, not only was she an anthropomorphic or human form, but she was also a zoomorphic form or an animal form as a cow, So sometime you'll see her with the human face and the cow's ears, because she was the surrogate mother for Haru. And in that temple, I take our group where Haru, in the spiritual story, was born at December the 25th at this particular time. Now, the question that we have to ask, that her symbol is the cow. Now, I'm going to take you to a pit something. I want you to have an image in your mind, or you can bring it up on your phone. Why is that cow always in the manger, in Western art? Because that cow, when the Romans, and the Byzantine Romans were plagiarizing these ideas, that is Het Heru. Now, Het Heru, she represented love and beauty. And the Kemetic word, or the Medu Neter word for love, was called Murray, So now we have to look at this word Murray, because it was at the conference of Ephesus in 431 AD where they de-Africanized the goddess of Set in the formulation of this Mary. So the question is, where did they get that name from? Did that name come out of the Medu Neter name Murray? The symbol of the Medu Neter, is of Murray, is like an A turned sideways and 2 feathers, and that was called Murray. So one account after the other, we can see how the formulation of the making of the Western version of Christianity, how it was formulated from many spiritual ideas of ancient Kemet. Another Medu word, that's on the temples, is everywhere, by the way, is a term called Sa-Ra, Sa-Ra is the Son of God, all right, because Haru was referred to as the Son of God, who was born of a holy birth and immaculate conception from his mother Aset. In that story, I didn't talk about it, but it's the temple of Seti-Wan. Here, this temple is over 3,000 years ago, built by the Nisu, or King Seti. And here we see the holy birth of the goddess Aset, and here we see her pregnated. In the early 80s when I was there, you saw her on a donkey, but they came there and chiseled that out because all these things were so obvious to many of the tourists. Because keep in mind that these temples were only dug out in the turn of the century, not to tell the truth, but to make tourist dollars. So you have all these things that have made, because most of the tourists that actually come there to this very day are Europeans, and Asians and so forth. Well,
so the Egyptian government was the chiseled it out? It was the Egyptian government who chiseled it out?
Well, we say we chisel out, we say that most of what we refer to as Egyptology is controlled by European Egyptologists.
Gotcha.
They're the ones who come over. They're the ones who are involved in the archaeological teams. They're the ones who have formulated this whole thing. When Napoleon came into Egypt in 1798, and came in as a plunder as well, like the previous Europeans who came in, like the Greeks and so forth. So this is what established Egyptology, as they refer to it as, because he came there with all his scientists. They were fascinated by Egypt, just like the Greeks who were fascinated by Egypt, and the Romans, So all these people are fascinated by this ancient land, to even to this very day. It's just absolutely mind-blowing to see these temples over 3,000 and 4,000 and 5,000 years ago.
But there was a problem.
There was a problem because of the stories, Anyone who would go there and see how the Western version, not only of Christianity, but also Judaism, and many concepts of even Islam, Buddhism, and also Krishna and so forth, all these ideas of this holy birth, because Krishna also has a holy birth story, from his mother Javiki. How did they get that story? Because when the priests went to the east, and even when the Assyrians came in, who kidnapped priests and brought them to the east, that's how this knowledge went to the east, with Buddha, born from his mother, the Immaculate Conception from his mother Myra, equally. But where is the origin? The origin is coming from the fallopian tube. What fallopian tube? We're talking about the fallopian tube of the Happy Valley, and that is what is referred to as the Nile today. These are spiritual stories that took countless thousands of years. And fortunately, the temples are still there to validate where many of these ideas were literally taken from. In fact, down through the millenniums, this spiritual story that started in ancient Kemet referred to as what is known as the Zep Tepi. The Zep Tepi is referred to as the first time. It would be equivalent to what we would say Genesis today, or creation story. But long before there was a Genesis story, a creation story, here we see the first man and woman were created simultaneously. It was not Adam and Eve. Thousands of years before the Hebrew Adam and Eve story, it was a story of Asar and Aset, who were created, by the way, simultaneously. There was no rib taken from Asar.
Wow, that's a whole different perspective to say the simultaneous birth.
No misogyny,
absolutely.
That's the reason for the world's sins, we are told, because Eve ate from this tree of knowledge of good and evil. When they took and created these stories, they had a hatred towards the goddess concept. Why? Because they got their introduction to the goddess, or what was referred to as Natert in ancient Kemet. They got that from ancient Kemet because the whole concept of the goddess was everywhere, because they couldn't conceive of a god without a goddess, or a goddess without a god.
And this is just so powerful.
Ashra, hold on. You're rolling. People have to rest and because you
soak this up. You dropping jewels this morning, Bobby. You dropping jewels. You dropping jewels.
I'm talking real fast because I don't want to cough a lot. So by me talking,
you're doing well.
That stops me from coughing.
No worries, and we love it. We want to make
time.
sure that our audience knows that we are in the midst of our fall fun drive, and this is so powerful because everything that you are saying and bringing to us this morning is all what KPFK is about.
And
we want to keep
KPFK
it going.
Los Angeles, 90.7 FM, 98.7 FM Santa Barbara, 93.7 FM San Diego County, 99.5 FM Ridgecrest, China Lake. And my name is Sylvester Rivers.
And I'm Ife Jai, and we are cutting to the chase this morning.
And we want you to know that the reason we could bring Ashra on is because this is a listener-sponsored station, and we want everyone to go to your computer, your phone, and call into this station and subscribe. Last week we talked about winning this madness. Meaning,
yes, we did.
So there was 3 things we had to do. We
yes,
had
it
to
is.
believe.
We had to believe.
We had to put it in the universe. We will win.
That's right. We have to say it.
And we have to
win.
take action. One of those action things is supporting institutions like this.
Absolutely.
Businesses like this by calling 818-985-5735 and keeping us on the air. People are trying to buy this transmitter.
Oh, wow.
It's 110,000 watts.
Oh, wow. It's big.
It's one of the biggest frequencies in the country.
Oh, absolutely. Awesome.
So
awesome.
they're out there.
Yeah.
We want that. And here we are, just a little public radio station trying to survive, but we're going to get stronger.
That's right. And we're going to get it with listener support.
With your help. We have a lot of things happening. New management is making a lot of changes, but we need your help. We're going to do live. I was talking to Gary. Yeah, I was talking to Gary about some live music out of Studio A.
Oh, nice.
That cost. We were talking about the evening news now. We're talking about all that takes money. A lot of what's going on is from volunteers.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because we have a passion for truth.
People that see the value of
justice.
That's right.
I'm
People
not getting paid for this.
No, I'm not getting paid for this. But we're happy to be here.
Each one teach one. So
Absolutely.
we need you. We need everybody's support because we're going to win this.
That's right. So visit kpfk.org or you can text 619-870-1680. Text KPFK to make your donation today.
If you go online, there's different premiums that you could ask for. There's CDs, there's books, there's all types of what we call premiums. So you can go online and subscribe, scroll down, and pick a premium. 818-985-5735. I think Terry's in the phone room answering calls, so let him, put him to work.
Put him to work.
Put him to work. 818-985-5735 is the number to call for this listener-sponsored radio station. I've done a lot of stuff on this station, and the station's been attacked. It is under attack because we were not corporate funded.
Right.
It was attacked. I mentioned they lost the lawsuit when George Carlin, somebody played him. He was cussing.
He was cussing and carrying on. I had learned that real quick.
So that a decision came out saying, hey, you cannot say these 7 dirty words.
Yeah.
Then I think the station was raided by the State Department when Patty Hearst, and then they were looking for tapes. The station would not give them up.
Oh, wow.
The station.
That's our KPFK.
818-985-5735. The station mentioned the program I started and the people that were working with me because they were what they said were these anarchist black people.
Oh, no,
in Los
not
Angeles,
those intellectuals.
And we need to cut the funding. We don't get CPB funding right now, so we need you to step in.
That's right. We need the community support.
There's a lot of talk of how we're going to last, and this is really serious.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a serious situation. I guess I better,
let's get back to it.
I don't want to say what's going on, but the station really needs money. And we want to get powerful. We want to win this madness. We want to go back to real truth. You don't hear this stuff on any other radio station. You don't hear Kweisi on any other radio station.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
to the depth.
Yeah,
length.
To the extent of what we're talking about. And it's so powerful to be able to address Christmas because we are in the midst of this season right now. And so many of us have been blindly just kind of following the traditions. Without thinking twice about why we're doing what we're doing.
We played a clip last week about, what was it? Everything is energy.
Everything is
the
energy.
that you put out there.
That's right.
So this, Ashra, I think you're still on the line as we get back to it. The interesting thing is, I think you're talking about religious imperialism and racism in this holiday. Is that correct?
Sure, absolutely, my brother. You definitely, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the imperialism because it was the imperialism that took over the spiritual concepts that are on the books in stone and that are heads or the divine houses as they were referring to. And like I said before, for many years, and like myself, going back to Africa, I had to go back and see this after Dr. Ben told me I can take you back and show you. So that's what I do now every year to show brothers and sisters where many of these spiritual, and they just gasp when they actually see it. Okay, here you see it carved in stone. Okay, let's go to the Temple of Aset, referred to as the Temple of Isis. And keep in mind, that, as I said before, the Romans worshipped her at one time, okay? It's known as the Herculean worship of the goddess of Set. They took her throughout their empires, okay, as Isis at that time. So it's the slow conversion of this holy birth and virgin birth story, as the slow conversion into Christianity, then she becomes the Black Madonna. That's why when you go to Europe to this very day, you see all these Black Madonnas, okay, because she was a Set. She was Isis, as the Romans called her, okay, prior to that changeover. Now, it was Constantine, okay, during this time when they felt that they had to formulate this new world religion, okay, at this particular time, mainly because of two people that, going back before Constantine, it was Octavian, who later called himself Augustus, because he defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra. This is towards the end of the dynastic period of Egypt. But Cleopatra, and I'm getting slightly off course, but I'm just trying to follow the history here so people can see it. But Cleopatra told Octavian at this time, she said, you worship me, because she personified herself as Isis. She's not Isis, but she's personifying herself. She's telling him that your people worshipped Isis, and I'm personifying myself as Isis. And Octavian hated this. He went to war because Cleopatra was his enemy. But with the defeat of Mark Antony and Cleopatra, this started the slow formulation. They said, we got to change this, because they did worship her. There are temples in Rome to this very day to the Holy Mother. And that Holy Mother, who they refer to as the Theotokos, or the Mother of God. And who is that? That is a Set who they refer to as Isis. So when they took her out throughout their empire, she is still there, but she's referred to as the Black Madonna. When you go to the Vatican to this very day, and you see that Black Madonna, in fact, the Pope worships the Black Madonna.
I saw a picture of that, actually.
Yeah, worshiping the Black Madonna in the cellar. Why is he doing that? Because he's acknowledging their beginning. He's acknowledging where they got their concepts from, the ideas of where they got this whole story of the holy birth from. And the last temple that was closed in Kemet, okay, that the Greeks refer to as Egypt, the last temple was her temple. Okay, the temple as Isis is referred to today. Even the architectural structure of the temple, even the Western Church, when you look at the Western Church, the oblong structure of the church and the tall pillars in the front, that was taken from the temples of Kemet, the Notre Dame, okay? Here they actually have a procession where they carry the Black Madonna out from that church, just like they did in ancient Kemet with the temple of Isis, where they carried her out. But let's go to a relief where I show brothers and sisters every year. It's called the Menmezi House. And here we see that a Set, as I said, the Greeks call Isis, she had to hide in the papyrus swamps. Why? Because the evil brother, okay, of Asar, the evil brother of her husband, referred to as her husband is Asar, the evil brother was named Set, okay, who murdered Asar. Yes, the world's first Cain and Abel story, and I was about to talk about all that before the break, but as I'm getting into it, I don't want to confuse the people as I'm talking here. But here she feared that Set, the evil brother of her husband, was going to kill her son, so she had to hide in the papyrus swamps. Are we hearing a story of Jesus who had to hide from Herod here? Also, here we see that she had to hide in the papyrus swamps. Is this the story that we see of Moses who had to hide in the bulrushes? Each religion that came about plagiarized spiritual ideas from ancient Kemet. Also, we see that there are three Netarus. Netarus means divine entities, who are coming to a Set with this holy child in her lap, okay, giving gifts because of this holy child is born at this particular time. Is this the idea where we get the Magi from? After all, we see it carved in stone. And I just came off the tour, because I lecture a lot during this time of the year with visual documentation and lecturing around the country at this time, and so brothers and sisters can see where these ideas came from. So we will not get caught in the white idolatry, as I started off the show. It's sad in my neighborhood and many neighborhoods throughout the country, in fact, black neighborhoods, to see black people pulling out European images of a plastic white baby. And then as I asked one man here in the neighborhood, what are you doing? He said, I'm telling my son that this is the Son of God. I said, this is a plastic white baby you got out the closet.
Not out the closet, Baba. Dusted him off once a year and pulled him out.
Right. but he's been brainwashed.
My Lord, my Lord.
He's been brainwashed to tell his son that is the Son of God. Okay?
Right, and he ain't the only one, man. And he ain't the only one.
The Fox News reporter, I think it was last year.
Okay.
She said, was it Ingram? I don't think it was Ingram. One of the main ones. He said, well, you know that Jesus was white and you know that Santa Claus is white. What are you trying to do? But anyway, keep going.
Yeah.
Well, that's the trapment that you got people into. You got one side, you got Saturnalia, okay, from Rome called Santa Claus. And by the way, and as I bring these things up, I'm reflecting on the fact when I was in Nigeria, a brother was spraying snow in his window. And I said, brother, it doesn't snow in Nigeria.
No, darn well don't
if
snow
I
in Nigeria.
If I could share that, when I was in Ghana.
Ready for Christmas.
If I could just share a story, when I was in Ghana, two brothers, they said, when we were in school, they were teaching us about, the white Christmas. And there's no snow in Ghana.
Right.
Two brothers, we talked to one, he said that same thing, how they were brainwashed.
Oh, my Lord.
And then we went to another younger one and said, yeah, we were taught that story, white in Ghana.
Right.
And this is what colonialism has done and imperialism has done. But this peace be upon him is Dr. John Henry Clark, okay, may his spirit fly into eternity. Where he told us, he said that, but not only did they colonize Africa and brought in on these distorted stories, but they also colonized our minds.
Yes, that's right.
Okay?
That's the most important
they colonized the afterlife. Because when you look at the representation of the angelical realm, it's all European images. Okay? So when you come into Kemet and you see, and I take brothers and sisters into the tombs, they're spectacular. Okay, here in the Valley of the Kings, this is 1,000 years after the pyramids were built, by the way. And here you see the black divinity everywhere. And some of the black divinity you can see where they try to chisel out the black images from the faces. So this is when Europeans were coming in destroying black divinity. All right, so not only did they destroy the black divinity, but now in the psychic of many black folks here in America, here this is where they took and distorted and vilified and demonized our black divinity, as I use this idea when we got as children, a devil's food cake versus an angel's food cake. So even at that early age, they were destroying our own black divinity. So at this holiday, this is the epitome of white supremacy. This is it, okay?
Wow.
When we see all these images in black folks' yards, and you see that here we're a Sunbelt people, and, we had an ice storm here in 2021. I don't know if you heard about it, but many people died here because this redneck governor cut Texas off the grid. And Texas couldn't handle, heating everybody's home. In fact, my wife and I, we almost died of hypothermia.
Oh, wow.
Okay, here. Yeah, it was horrible. Terrible. I don't want to experience that ever again. But the thing is, there was ice everywhere. I mean, it was like something out of a science fiction movie. But I say that is because right now you got black people, okay, after that horrible experience of the ice, now they're putting lights as icicles up on their house. How could you possibly put icicles up after
everything is energy.
Like that?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
As we...
so we're even deifying the climate of where Europeans are coming from.
As we
even
wind
to the
down...
point of, I told my wife, how could these black folks in the neighborhood put these lights as icicles up after we experienced that ice storm like we did, and some people died?
Wow.
Well, what do you say to people who are, we've been so indoctrinated to these holidays. There's Kwanzaa, but a lot of people don't know about Kwanzaa. How do we break?
Yeah, how do we break it? Because it's been so much a part of what we've done.
Everybody will start celebrating Kwanzaa like Juneteenth.
Yeah, then it's commercialized. I'm not saying that that's an alternative, but right. it's commercialized now also.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But after having such indoctrination, after having such imperialist-like thinking and everything kind of in our culture reinforcing these ideas, how do you break away from not getting the Christmas tree and not doing it?
I just came off the tour, lecturing, and of course, I need several lifetimes to tell this story, but for those who are, who see, and when I come to lecture, it's impossible, the only way you could possibly let black folks see this is get on some major network, which that'll never happen, CNN, MSNBC, and say, okay, Ashra Kweisi is going to do a lecture on Christianity today, and the whole world's going to see this.
It might happen.
It never know, because KPFK is going to get it started. Yeah, there we go.
Unfortunately, we're talking about it, but it's one thing to talk about it, and but I can validate it through the images and documentation over the years.
Right.
KPFK is going to have to get a media visual medium to
be able
We're
to
working
do that.
on that. We're
Yes,
working
that's
on that right now. And there's a station in Houston,
but
Texas.
We do produce DVDs, on my website.
Let's talk about because we're wrapping up. Ashra Kweisi can be reached at kemetnu.com. That's KEMETNU.com. kemetnu.com.
And we're into the digitals now, so you can bring it right up on your TV,
and you have videos, so people who they can go to that website and get his video and give that as a gift.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, I mean they could subscribe.
Bring that to the dinner. Bring that to Christmas dinner. Yeah, I love it. I think this has been very, very powerful, and I want to encourage people to still support this type of information, because only at KPFK can we talk about this so openly and boldly, and it's because of listener support and your donations.
Hey, Ashra, you got any last comments? Unfortunately, we're winding
it's not
down.
like I said, it's not for people to believe in what I'm talking about, but to think about what I'm talking about. Okay,
Right.
we have a cerebral organ called the brain, and that's what it's used for.
Use it. Use it. Use it.
Have critical analytical analysis to think about this, okay, and that's what it's all about. And as we have our organization called Know Thyself, okay, that's the name of our tour, Kemet Nu, Know Thyself. And that's what we're an ancient people. And without African people, many of these stories that we see in the various religions, not only in Christianity, but in Judaism, and as I dealt with in the African origin of concepts in Islam and Buddhism and so forth, all, we can see is part of an ancient African spiritual story. And without that fallopian tube, they would not exist. Okay, it's been validated now through science that black people are the first people on the planet Earth. So the question is, okay, even spiritual ideas. African people were not just standing around, wandering around, waiting for Western civilization to come to tell them about God and these ideas. Okay, so we have to go back, and for those who would like to read about some of these things, and Brother Sylvester, you brought it up, okay, John G. Jackson, Christianity Before Christ, okay, even some Europeans like Massey, the historical Jesus and the mythical Christ, and my teacher, Dr. Joseph Binyaka. And
so there's a lot of literature out there.
Religion.
And
there's a lot, okay, you can go to Asawan Bookstore, okay.
So visit
those brothers for many years and start
they just went out.
Black bookstores.
Yeah, they did.
So visit Ashra Kweisi's. Thank you, Ashra.
Asawan is not there anymore?
Well, I think they're online now. They've been there for like 30 years.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. See, we're letting bookstores go out of business.
Well, they decided on their own because they just had done it so long. But we're talking to Ashra Kweisi.
Thank you.
You can get in touch with him.
Thank you, brother, for calling in.
Sana, many thanks for being on the show, and there's many other things I could have gone into, but I know, it's a short amount of time.
Well, we'll bring you back. We'll bring you back in April. How's that sound?
Yeah, for the next solstice.
The resurrection. That's a whole other one there.
Right on.
We appreciate you so much.
And we can put the Passover in there, too.
That's Dr. Ashra Kweisi. I just gave him the honorary doctorate today.
Yeah, I think he deserves that because he's done the knowledge. He's done the work.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you.
Asante to both of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Asante Sana. All right, KPFK 90.7, y'all. It's Sly Rivers and Ife Jai, and we cutting to the chase this morning.
We're cutting to the chase. So, wow.
Powerful.
Let me breathe. And a lot of
Good
people
morning.
a lot of people have this information. A lot of people have never heard of this information. I just do it because I do it.
Right.
My mama did it. My mama's mama did it.
It's all I know. It's what I know.
Yeah, it's what I know.
Yeah.
But what you know does not always help you or heal you. So that's why this is how KPFK started. Because Lou Hill, back in the 40s, I think, or late 40s, 60s, right at the end of the Second World War, said, you know what, I want a radio station. I want to change the narrative. The station will be run by the people, and it will be peace, anti-war.
All right.
What you say?
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
So that's what he did, and we're here, I think, 60-plus years.
Wow.
He started in Berkeley, then KPFK came in, I think, 59, and we're still here. Because of
listener support. Yeah, so, that's amazing. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we're here every Friday morning, and we will continue to be here every Friday morning as long as you help us stay here by calling that special number, 818-985-5735. Why would you not subscribe?
That's right. It's no reason not to.
I'm a subscriber.
Are you subscribed?
Yeah, I am.
I'm getting
I
with
tried
it.
to justify, I put in enough volunteer time, but I went ahead and subscribed.
Just go on and do it. And I can subscribe by going to kpfk.org. And I can also make a pledge by simply texting KPFK to 619-870 1680. Yeah, this is an amazing opportunity to be able to speak this type of truth in this type of time, because things are, there is a moment, I think the brother said, we got to start critically thinking. And it's essential now, because things are starting to be, the consequences of not critically thinking are devastating, are literally killing us. Absolutely.
They might take us out.
Absolutely.
So, we talk about climate change here. We talk about, we have alternative musics. We talk about many, 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 many things that you will not hear anywhere else. But it's important that everyone join with me and wake up. Wake up.
Wake up, everybody. Good morning.
No
Happy
more
Friday.
Sleeping in bed.
That's right.
If we just let it be, the world won't get no better. We gotta change.
What did he say? What he just say? The world will get no better. We got to change it. You and me.
You and me. And
There's
it
a
only
lot of
takes
ways
one
to do
thing.
it.
The revolution starts in the mind first. Putting on our
won't be televised, but it might be on YouTube.
Yeah, changing our thinking. You said, but it might be on YouTube.
KPFK.
Changing our thinking is so powerful. And so I really want to send another special thank you to Dr. Ashra Kweisi for lacing our bootstraps about the truth about Christmas. And don't be a sheep to the blind.
818-985-5735.
Traditions that we practice, y'all.
5735. This is KPFK Los Angeles 90.7 FM. Okay, you thought about it. Come on, y'all. You got to. I think the regular subscription is $70.
Not too bad.
You can pledge more. And I want to put a special call out. If anybody knows these rich athletes,
okay.
Kyrie Irving just dropped out $500,000.
Oh wow!
He's a philanthropist. And
he's doing his thing.
I bet you if somebody out here knows LeBron, tell them to get in touch with me.
Somebody knows somebody. It's LA. Everybody knows somebody.
I bet you once they hear this information, they would throw down $500,000.
I
bet
listen,
you. We're going to put it out there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think it's there.
They will listen. They have their headphones on. They usually listen to music, but one day they're going to be listening to us.
That's right.
And in comes $500,000. Somebody out there has a connection with a connection. So
we're going to make that work. And this is Sly Rivers and Ife J. And we cutting to the chase, KPFK 90.7. Tuned in.
Come on now. Stop pushing that dope. Don't use us. Stop using the dope. Wake up. Yeah. Won't you tell me now? Won't you tell me now? False fire. False preaching. False teaching. Wake up, y'all.